Welcome back to Echo Ridge and another episode here in our farm series. Today it's going to be a little bit of a maintenance episode, but don't worry, we're going to have plenty of fun-filled excitement along the way. I've also started building more ladders and fire poles and started extending towards space. More on what we're going to be doing up here, at least in the short term, in a little bit. You'll also notice that I put a manual airlock separating the space biome from our normal biome with the abyssalite as well. And that's because there's critters over here. These little buggers would love to start wreaking some havoc in and around our base. So until we're sort of ready for them, because they are a critter that we're going to need to ranch, we need to keep them out. I'm also going to need to figure out how to get the transit tube up there while dodging this wonderful natural gas geyser. More on that in a little bit. And I also am getting a little impatient with the thermo aqua tuner heating up this water. So we're going to improve that process by replacing the space heaters with something that outperforms them in heat. And that, of course, is the liquid tepidizer. The space heater produces 18,000 DTUs worth of heat per second. The liquid tepidizer produces over 4,000. I also managed to get that one tile of polluted oxygen out of here by setting up a gas pump and a filter, once again proving the sentiment that lazy people work the hardest. I think we're also going to fill another cavity with carbon dioxide for the simple purpose of we need to start growing some mushrooms in here. Yes, we do have the mushroom farm out here, but I want to stick every single plant inside of our greenhouse, arboretum, garden, or possibly my personal favorite, the Botanical Observation Building, aka Bob. While I'm quite sure the Pacu are providing quite a bit of cooked seafood for our duplicants, we still are reliant on the fried mushrooms. Not quite as much as we were before though. And that's due to the fact that we're getting a lot of barbecue from our Drecos, our stone hatches, and even our wonderful plug slugs who are living in our new farm that's doing pretty well. The hydrogen system has been working well, no issues there, and our shipping system is doing perfect with all of the gold and iron being supplied to them completely backed up onto the rails. So the plug slugs have plenty to eat. We're also going to be keeping an eye on the printing pod because while we do have 27 dupes, I still am not getting that amount of dupe labor that I want in order to make building projects go quite as snappy as I'd like. And how did the plug slugs get out? Sorry, plug slugs. There is no chance I'm waiting for you to turn into some sort of evil sponge slug. A couple of other minor updates is in the background I've had a little naphtha tank because we do have some liquid naphtha hanging around and we need a spot to be able to drop it off and grab it from. It's a lot smaller than our ethanol tank, and eventually we're going to need ethanol production because we're going to need to be feeding other plants, but we'll get to that later as well. And I'm still making headway down here. I always get sidetracked when I'm playing the colony and forget to keep working on this. But it's pretty slow going because I have to build the ladders, then they deconstruct a few tiles, then I have to build some more ladders. Alright, enough of that nonsense. Let's get working on this. The first thing I'm going to do is just add a nice little pool worth of liquid. And that way these radiant liquid pipes have a nice bath that they'll be able to go through. We'll use aluminum once again, separate it from here. We'll also need to provide it a power source. Unfortunately, this transformer already has the 1200 watts from the thermo aqua tuner, so there is absolutely no chance that we can put the liquid tepidizer on it because they will be running at the exact same time. And I can't get in there and repair, but it looks like I might want to before I seal this up because I never brought all these transformer wires through, which that could spell some disaster later, or at least some very messy lines. So I think I'm going to send these through like this. Oh, perfect. Just in case we ever want to use the rest of the 800 watts that this line has available on its potential load. And no time like the present, considering there's still a vacuum in here. But one of the other things that we have to start looking out for is this wonderful collection of carbon dioxide that will continue to pose a problem. And eventually cause a lot more than just a small problem, and it will stifle out our entire base. Which is the primary reason we went to the space biome to begin with. Now, while the little carbon skimmer that could is doing just such a phenomenal job, there are better ways to deal with this. And that is using a pair of gas pumps. I think this area here is perfect. And the only line that we have for power on those gas pumps is way over here, unless we wanted to hook them to the primary grid, which I really don't. Plus, it'd be nice to get all these pumps off the primary grid as well. So I think it's about time that we built another power transformer. We'll put one right here. We'll make it out of gold and then grab some conductive wire. Lead will be just fine, and we'll send it all the way through here. Separate these from the primary grid, and then just start replacing all the heavy watt conductive wire with the standard conductive wire. Now that we have power onto them, we can start pumping all the gases. Now, the gases are already in the open environment, so we don't much care about their thermals. So we're going to use regular gas pipes to be able to save us a little bit. We're down to 294,000 kilos of igneous rock, and although we do have over 1 million kilos worth of granite, I like to save that for projects, but we do have a lot of sedimentary rock. So I'm just going to hook into this, and then we're just going to follow the ladder all the way up. Oh, nope, that's not going to work. Let's go back down. Then we're just going to follow the fire pole all the way up, scooting right beside this one here. We'll jump over that and over here until we eventually get all the way out to the space biome. Now, this area right here would not work because this area actually holds an environment. So we need to keep building up, and we'll add some fire poles until we reach a point where this gas pipe is sitting in open space. So all the gases will just be dumped there into the world's largest garbage can. And since I'm doing this, I think it's probably high in time I use the transit tube. I'm going to have to replace a lot of those ladders, no big deal. We're going to come across through here, go around. Oh yeah, this is going to be a disaster. Until we finally get up. Now right here, I'm going to need to use one of these transit tube crossings, even though I am worried that the shovel will be able to get through. I guess we're going to find out, and then we'll just dump it off, say, right here. This will be fine. A little creative building for sure, but at least the dupes will be able to zoom me up there. And once we finally do have a major space presence with a spaceport and everything like that, we'll even power another one of the transit tube access points. Oh wow, look at the giant polluted waterfall. Oh yeah, it's just a small mess. It's gonna be fine. That's what this area is here for. I'll even replace these solid tiles with some mesh tiles, and that way any liquids that do splash down here will just slip right through. Not that it matters much, because remember, all the dupes are in suits, so they don't get the sopping wet debuff, but it will help get rid of all these liquids, because all these pumps are pumping everything on the bottom of the map into our wonderful storage tanks. Ooh, might as well build some more ladders. Speaking of which, we're starting to run out of room of polluted water. So I think we should probably put in the system that we're going to be using to make sure that no more polluted water gets in here, at least in the short term. I'm going to have to figure out a long-term solution in the future. It's probably just going to bypass and go to space. But for now, we're going to hook all of these up. Except, why am I using a thermo sensor? It's been one of those type of days. Here's our wonderful hydro sensor. So in effect, once the liquid hits this point, the hydro sensor is going to turn off these vents so no more polluted water can come in. But that's also going to cause all the polluted water to back up here. So what we're going to do is have an overflow system past the vents, something like this, that's also going to head all the way up to the vacuum of space. The problem is, well, there's not a lot of room up here. Maybe I go up this side and then cut across? Yeah, that's probably for the best. So I will go around. Now, some of these liquids are going to be hot, so we are going to use insulated, and I'm on igneous rock, even though I mean to be on sedimentary. Then we're going to head up through here. I'll end up putting a bridge right here, easy peasy. And then just bypass all that mess that was there before. We'll hook a left, and then head all the way up to the vacuum of space. Man, this is awfully expensive, but it's going to be okay. Now, in the case of liquids, you can't just drop them here, because they will just fall right back down. So what we do is we build a little platform here for the liquids to be dropped through a vent into a place that they start collecting here, but because it's a vacuum, they'll disappear into the world's largest garbage can again. Except it'd be a lot better if I aligned these. Aesthetics matter. There we go, that looks a little bit better. Oh no, why we made a mess? Oh, we had some polluted mud here. There you go. Sorry you peed your suit, Maxine. The plug slugs have started to escape. We have an uprising. We must have dug into one of their biomes, and now they're looking for revenge. I am not trying to go back 3 or 4 episodes where a sponge slug could have possibly destroyed our entire colony, so Look, I don't want to hear any complaints. We do have the Plug Slug Conservatory. Those are just errant plug slugs. All right, I give in. We'll just move the slugs and bring them over here. Hashtag save the slugs. Our giant gas pipe is chocked full with chlorine and carbon dioxide. These pumps are doing great work. Each one of them going to be able to get rid of 500 grams per second worth of gases. And when you compare that to a carbon skimmer that can only get rid of 300 grams, this system sort of represents 3 1/3 carbon skimmers. Now, eventually, we're not going to want it to pump because it's going to be pumping oxygen. Granted, that's going to be a long, long time from now. But we can use some automation to make sure that doesn't happen. We're going to use a gas element sensor and probably put it right here, along with a NOT gate and a filter gate. Let me get these built and I'll explain to you why we use the filter and the NOT gate. We're going to take the gas element sensor and set it on oxygen, because if it's not oxygen, we don't want it. Right now, this gas element sensor is picking up on the fact that there's carbon dioxide in this tile, which hypothetically means there's carbon dioxide all on the bottom tiles. And because of that, and because of the fact it's not oxygen, it's sending out a red signal, which we flip with a green signal. Then we're going to use a filter gate. The reason why we use a filter gate set on, say, 30 seconds is because we don't want one tile of carbon dioxide to come down here. We want it to be a significant enough amount to where we know the gas pumps are going to be pumping mostly bad gases. In fact, I could probably make this a little bit better by moving it over by 1. So the idea is, because the filter gate is set on 30 seconds, we'll know that the carbon dioxide has risen up to this point enough to where when these gas pumps start pumping, the majority of the gases that they're going to get is carbon dioxide or chlorine. Now, over on our liquid fronts, we were backed up on our 3rd ingest pipe because we had, well, more ethanol. But eventually, all those liquids will have been filtered and sorted, and we won't need this anymore. And what we'll do is take the overflow from all of these ingest and just plug them right in to the liquid pipe going to the vacuum of space. We've also reached pay dirt down here. Now, I don't mind all this chlorine in here, but the polluted water has to go, so does the brine. So we do have a lot to pick up here. And we still have 21 cycles till this vent hits dormancy. So I think we're going to start off by just adding a gas pump right here, because there are still a lot of other gases that we don't want in here. And I'll just start pumping it all the way to our wonderful trash line. We will have to 50-50 it, otherwise only carbon dioxide would ever be able to join that line. Then all we need is a little bit of power. There's some right here. Oh, and good news, our liquid overflow system is complete. Each tank has hydro sensor, and as long as the tile is below 500 kilos, it's sending out a green signal, which keeps the liquid vent closed. But as soon as it's not, it would shut the liquid vents, just like that, allowing nothing more to come through. So all the liquids would bypass and head on to this wonderful line heading to space. So a liquid garbage pipe. We've extended all the power lines here in our arboretum, and we have some liquid being dropped off. What is this, ice? Oh, don't worry, that's about to be eliminated real quick. Here's our extra power line. We'll just extend it and then seal this back up. All the water we had is turning into ice because this polluted water is at minus 11. Now, the liquid tepidizer, you can add some automation to it. But to tell you the truth, in this instance, we don't really need to, because I don't care how hot it gets. It does have a point where it will turn off automatically. I believe that's at 85 degrees. And that way you can't just straight boil water using a liquid tepidizer. To me, that's a little unfair because the ability to boil water is pretty simple. Now, the dupes cannot drop off water fast enough, so I'm just going to pause it, allow the water to come get dropped off. Hopefully we can get enough of it to where the liquid tepidizer will be submerged and we won't have to worry about it anymore. And I don't really have to worry about the polluted water sitting in pipes because this is not a hot area. This is a nice and chill area. Of course, there are 200 kilo chunks worth of ice sitting here, so this is about to make a huge mess. No big deal, we'll mop it up because these ice chunks are going to melt pretty quickly. So I only want the bare minimum of water so the liquid tepidizer is submerged. Apparently that is not at 30 kilos. Some of the ice is starting to melt. We're up at 56 kilos. Liquid tepidizer's still not happy. 67 kilos, still no joy. My guess is it's going to be 100 kilos. If I was a dev, Maybe I'm thinking 100 kilos? It's not 100 kilos. And it's not 200 kilos. Give me a minute. Let me see what we can do to submerge this liquid tepidizer. And there we go. It looks like 400 kilos is the magic number. So we'll turn off the bottle emptier. And notice this water is already up to 20 degrees. Oh, it's so glorious. And then I'll just hook back in the coolant line. So now it's a liquid tepidizer producing 4,000 DTUs per second versus a thermal aqua tuner, which can only cool 585,000 DTUs, i.e. the liquid tepidizer will win. Wanted to show you a wonderful example of our garbage lines at work. Notice the carbon dioxide and the sometimes chlorine comes out and it just dissipates in a 3x3 position. And I may have found one misplaced bridge. That's an old school Echo Ridge gaming mistake. Don't worry, we don't do that here anymore. Other than this one time. We managed to get most of the other gases out there. We still have a little bit of errant here, but unfortunately, there is carbon dioxide all the way down here. So I'm gonna have to pump this to a vacuum, which is gonna take a little while because we still have another 16 cycles before this chlorine gas vent goes dormant. But in the meantime, I think it's time to start pumping all the extra liquids out here. I was going to recycle all the liquids, but this would be a great opportunity to test our trash line. And I think I may have discovered a small flaw with our overflow system, because any liquids that come out and overflow over here are going to think these are inputs. Well, we don't want them to be inputs. We want the lines to keep going straight across. So we're going to need to put bridges here to provide directional control. But then again, if this line backs up because this is full, it'll then bypass this bridge and still go into this vent. Okay, let me give it another look. To tell you the truth, if we'd had more room, the best way would have been able to put a bridge right here and then overflow it from there in the same way that we do with our hydrogen in our SPOMs. Because this line is backed up, the hydrogen bypasses the bridge and then goes on. Okay, I think I've got it. By putting the bridges here, we can then separate everything from the vents and have it overflow this way. That way it cannot back up into the vent. All right, chain 7, no big deal. Tell you the truth though, I think that even looks cleaner. 1, 2, and 3. Overflow, overflow, and overflow. I've also decided I'm gonna lower the hydro sensors just a smidge. Every once in a while, because there is so much liquid in here, the game mechanics sort of surge the water up and then it comes back down. In other words, we have such a large amount of liquid, we've created an ocean. And how is somebody trapped? Do tell. Just deconstruct the ladders, Mordrake. You're gonna be fine. That was a good example of how it surges up and now it'll start heading back down. As you can see that the water levels are sinking again. Let me see if I can catch it on camera one more time. Notice it looks like there we go. Notice that the liquid in the top row is actually plummeting. And this happens again and again. We're about to lose another tile worth of polluted water. Told you. It's like an ocean. We have tides. Hence the reason I wanted to make sure these hydro sensors were a little bit lower. Hopefully that's going to be low enough. Things over here are doing absolutely wonderful. You notice the water sitting at 85 degrees, so the liquid tepidizer says target temperature has been reached. And the thermal aqua tuner is doing its best to keep the water cool, but, well, like we said, the tepidizer is going to win. This thermal aqua tuner has been running 95% of the time, and the water down here is at 77 degrees. Soon, oh very soon. I've also decided with this room, we have a little bit of brine in here, probably because of the earlier cracking when we had multiple types of liquids, but I think we're just going to submerge this little kitchen area. The dupes are in Atmos suits anyways. They can still come down here and have a nice set of grapes and bananas. Of course, considering that the grapes and bananas are still there, my guess is all the fruit in this bowl is fake. And all the remaining gases, we're just going to fill in with a wonderful tile. And we're about to watch 55 kilos worth of polluted oxygen disappear into the ether. There we go. We've also started pumping all the liquids out of this area here. And we're going to get to follow them all the way to the vacuum of space, as long as this system worked out okay. Bypassing the bridges, very nice. It'd be kind of cool if you could hit follow packet, just like how you can with the duplicants. And we finally get all the way up here, and you'll notice that the liquid's cool for just a second until they just disappear. Now I know a lot of... Ooh, is that a natural? Look at the natural delectavole in the wild. That's pretty rare. The water is now at 101 degrees and we have precipitation. Now it is still going to take a little while because all these temperature shift plates need to heat all the way up to over 102 degrees so that way the steam can stay. It's going to take a little while, but we're making good progress. We've also got our second room filled with carbon dioxide. Unfortunately, it's 43 degrees, which means we need to get this thermal aqua tuner online to be able to keep this around 30 degrees for the benefit of the fungal spores. I'm wondering if there's any other plants that would like to be living there. Millwood likes to live in carbon dioxide. So if we keep it around 25 degrees, it'll be just fine. Now we're down to 7 tons worth of aluminum, so I think we're going to start using gold considering we have such a surplus. And we'll just go around like this. I think this area too is going to be cooled to the same. And probably this area as well. There we go. This will be a nice 3 stories worth of, let's say, 20 degrees. Who knows what plants we're going to put in here, but for now, we will be able to load this area up. There's also one other plant that I need to start preparing for, and that is the Sporechid seed. Now, the Sporechid seed we're not going to want to leave out in the open because, well, it makes zombie spores. But the temperature range for the Sporechid is absolutely wild at minus 15 to 240. So I think what we're going to do is put a nice little window here for people to look at the Sporchids. No touching. And I think because this area is carbon dioxide, I think a nice fresh white wallpaper would look awfully clean. Look, you don't come here for the aesthetic designs. You come here for the rugged good looks that, well, you can't see, and maybe a little sarcasm and wit. We also need to load this loop up, so we're going to use the carbon dioxide room because none of the polluted water would off-gas anyways. Oh, wait a minute. Don't I have a line right here? Oh, never mind. Why are all of you standing there? Get to work. What are we doing? Oh, boy. We're starting to have issues again. I might have to do a Pacu culling here soon. Well, and a plug slug culling. And a Dreco culling. And some Krabby Boy cullings. Because, well, there's too many in here. The great thing about culling the Sani shells is when they die, they give us raw shellfish. Which, just like the Pacu fillet, can provide us some cooked seafood. Except I've been a meep and have never said it. So all of that raw shellfish has just been going to waste. Oops. Only 32 poke shells left. No big deal. All right, despite the earlier rant, you got to admit the danger diagonals for where the Sporchids are going to sit looks really nice. I'm very proud of myself for this one. 3 cheers for me. Our cooling loop is getting filled now. I need to make sure this is set to way too high in an effort to potentially fill the loop correctly. Oh, our little vent ran out of water. Let me send some more from over here. There we have it. Our cooling loop is finished, which means I can turn the aqua tuner on. We're going to say above 20 degrees. And the steam has risen to the point where all of the aqua tuners up to around this point are fully engulfed into some steam. We're still going to keep this thing active because I'm not sure how much heat this place is going to generate. And I want to make sure it doesn't end up condensing into a bunch of water again. But all that's going to change as soon as all these temperature shift plates start heating up and they're able to hold on to that heat quite a bit. Now it's time for the Sporchids. I don't know how quickly the zombie spores spread, so the goal is going to be just plant them, put up the window tiles, and run. That's it. Not a big deal. While the dupes are in suits, I'm not too concerned about the zombie spores. And yes, I failed to put in flower boxes, instead I put in planter boxes. But I'm not too concerned about the zombie spores on the dupes because, like I said, the suits, I'm more concerned about the zombie spores interacting with the plants, because I'm not 100% sure how that interaction goes. All the database says is that it survives in all of these things, but it's killed by any other solid or liquid. So I'm thinking, considering the mushrooms are solid, that the only way the dupes can actually get the zombie infection is by breathing it. But better be safe than sorry, because infectious disease control is part of keeping the duplicants safe. Priority number 1 here. And no, slime lung doesn't count. That's only a minor infectious disease. If you see section 814 subparagraph 4C, it explains all of that perfectly well in the Union Guidebook. Now I'm starting to think maybe we should put them in nice aeropots. I kind of like the idea of that. All right, here we go. Sporechid seeds. Plant them. Copy the settings. Zombie spores are starting to spread. Hurry, duplicants. 2 more seeds. Very nice. Put up the glass. Put up the containment facility. Okay, we only have some minor zombie spores in the main area. It'll be okay. I'm not sure, but I think they die off. Just not in carbon dioxide. But let's be honest, it was well worth it. Maybe I should have put in a liquid lock, because I'm pretty sure the zombie spores would not have been able to bypass the liquid lock. Well, when in doubt, there's only one thing we can do. We're just going to fill in this entire area, killing off the zombie spores, and then refill it with carbon dioxide. Welcome to Echo Ridge Gaming. And there's all 84,000 zombie spores sitting in this one dial, and here is their demise. Goodbye, zombie spores. And just like that, we are zombie spore free. Now we can get back in there and start opening all this back up. Actually, you don't even have to deconstruct it. You can just overwrite with these wonderful fresh white drywall tiles. Perfect. And then we'll start filling this place back up with carbon dioxide, filtered this time, of course, for the second time. There's one major problem about having mushrooms in here, and that is in the fact that if any dupe drops any slime in the vacuum, well, this will no longer be a vacuum. And even if I put a shipping system in that brought slime in manually, even though we only have 12 tons left, we're always going to have slime because of the slime meteors. Which means some dupe is eventually going to get an errand to deliver slime, and then some other dupe's eventually going to forget that they were supposed to do that because they heard the lunch bell. So instead of trying to prevent slime from coming in here, let's just assume that slime is going to get in here. And once we do that, well, then we can handle it just fine. And what we're going to do is put a wonderful gas pump in here that will always pump anything that is in this vacuumed area straight out into the vacuum of space. As soon as I can find our garbage line, there it is. Once you get to a point where you have a garbage chute in your colony, everything else just really starts lining up. The entire steam chamber is filled, which means I could turn this aqua tuner on, and we're cooling this room down to 20 degrees, so soon our mellow mallows and our bluff briars will look as right as rain. And the wonderful carbon dioxide part of our farm is complete. We have jumpin' joyas, dust caps, mealwood, and some bog buckets. Yeah, I was just as surprised that bog buckets could grow in carbon dioxide. Room is being kept cool at 20 degrees, and that's 4 more plants checked off the list. I'm going to keep this system running for a little bit longer. It's 154 down here, but only 115 up here. Once I get it around 125, then I'll disassemble this system because that's the minimum that we're going to want the temperature in here. For the simple reason that at 125 degrees, the steam turbines turn off, and the assumption is that's eventually going to happen anyways. So we might as well set it to 125 and then not have to worry about it. Because theoretically, the room should never be able to get cooler because there's nothing coming into this room save the steam turbine exhaust. And once the room's down to 125 degrees, the steam turbines stop running, so even the exhaust will stop. I did hear a pretty good idea that said, well, why don't I put a temperature shift plate at the corner of this geyser, and that way some of the heat bleeds off from here. And we could have done that, because remember the temperature shift plate sees thermals in a 9 square tile area. The reason why I didn't want to do this is because when I built this geyser, I didn't put any temperature shift plates in the inside. And while, yeah, one temperature shift plate on each corner would siphon a little bit of heat, without more temperature shift plates, it really wouldn't do much at all. In fact, you can see the natural gas in here is still sitting at 84 degrees. We didn't have much luck with pods today. I know you're looking at this Frankie with a plus 13 to agriculture, plus they have a green thumb, which means they come out of the booth with a 16 agriculture. Unfortunately, they're a loud sleeper and they're narcoleptic. If I had dupe CPAP machines, Frankie would definitely... Okay, we're going to go ahead and bring Frankie in. Welcome to the farm, duplicate number 28, John Archer. I really hope you get a good night's sleep. In order to make sure John Archer does not wake anybody up, we've ensured that, in this case, Daox is not on the same schedule as John Archer. So they'll never sleep at the same time, so John Archer's loud sleeping won't interrupt them. And oh dear goodness, I have been forgetting to readjust schedules for quite some time. It also makes sense if I actually named the schedule for ease of assignment, so why not just use common farm animals, such as the hatch, the gassy moo schedule, and the infamous Pacu schedule. There we go. Now all the schedules are named, so hopefully in the future, I'll be able to assign them pretty easily. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Farm. I know it was a little bit of a hodgepodge episode, but sometimes we have to squeeze those in. If you're looking for ideas of what to write in the comments below, for engagement, or just to share your thoughts with the community, how about what you're looking forward to most of seeing pop up in either the Arboretum, or if maybe we should make a barn too. So until next time, much love, happy gaming, and I'll talk to you soon.